Hare Krishna. Today is the verse number 19 of chapter 2. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ya enam vetti hantaram yaschainam manyate hatam ubau tau no na vijanito nayam hanti na hanyate. Hanti hanyate. Hanana means to kill. So hanti means who killed, or hanyate who is um, uh, being killed, like that. I mean, here, no, the verse as it is, what does it translate to? And what is the interpretation of this verse we have to see. Because the direct translation would be like as if it has been already stated to you. What has already been told is being, restated in a different way is what we would get an impression if we try to translate it literally. So literally it says, he who understands a man to be a killer and he who considers a man killed, both of them are ignorant. He does not kill and he is not killed. So here one would say, he who understands a man to be a killer. Here Arjuna is saying that I don't want to be the killer of Bhishma or Drona. So he is telling Arjuna, you are not the killer. And Bhishma and Drona are not being killed because the soul is immortal. That the same thing which has already been told is what we would get the impression. You are not the killer means the body is doing the job, but not you. You are not the soul who can do something without the body. So in that way, it would seem like the jiva as such is immortal. So a person cannot kill it at all. Is one thing that we get from here. He does not kill and he is not killed. So in that case, then we wonder what is the actual import? Why is this being told here? So for that, if we keep some points like what is Krishna trying to tell here, then going through from verse number 11, he says that the soul is immortal. Firstly, it is not even born, it will never die, he says. In the beginning, he gave as God himself. He said, me, you, and all these kings. So he gave himself as an example for this immortality, and he said all the jivas are also immortal. Then he said there are many things that are immortal, and in the verse number 16, he gave the unmanifest cause, that is the material cause, as being pervading everywhere, and it is also never going to lose its identity. It will always be there. There's no time when it was not there also. Then further he said that the varna, space, and kala are all also immortal. They never have any instance when they are not there. Then if anyone asks, how can this human body, when it passes out, then how can we say that this jiva will stay permanently? Then he says that this man, who pervades everywhere, who is never having any loss of any kind, who cannot be fully known, such an infinite being is the bimba of the soul. And the soul itself is the reflector. So in that case, the soul can never be separated, no, because the bimba is having infinite power and it never gets separated from that bimba. Is always the bimba, and the jiva is the soul is always the pratibimba. So we talked about that object and the image and their relationship of dependence. The image is dependent on the object. Object has many different attributes which the image doesn't have. So those are the limited example of the object image thing we have to take with respect to God and the soul. Infinitely auspicious attributes are there with God, and he's so powerful that he has, that is his nature. But his nature is also to be of a very kind nature, like very compassionate person, compassionate and full of authority. that kind of combination is very difficult to find in the world. So they explained all because those are the doshas, no? We said there's no dosha, avyayanta. He was described. And in that, no, this powerful being in the world, usually you see powerful people are also having lot of feelings that they want certain things, they want to exploit and take more. All these kind of doshas we see in the world, no, those type are not there with him. Compassion is there, powerful nature is also there together with, and every other objection that you might have about the attribute which you can see in the world, such negative aspects are not there in him. He remains as the bimba for the jiva for eternal time. So there's no loss, he said, for the jiva. Now he's saying further, if you have any more questions about it, he is answering the objection about why the jiva is immortal in the relationship with God, and why the dependence of the jiva on this bimba makes him free of that notion of independence, which causes all the other things to come up, like guilt and all that. He killed, he didn't kill, he did that and all. See, using this verse, many people have given objections that Krishna is teaching something which makes people do anything they like. They can say that anyway, I'm not doing anything. I can do anything I like. So this is not what is meant in this verse. So what you're doing, and whether you're doing it for the sake of as a excuse. So he is not asking that he's not saying that you will not be liable for what you do. You will be liable if you are doing it with the intention to hurt someone. If you are doing it with the intention to show up like what you are actually feeling, you are not having that actually in your action. What we call as pramanikate means that natural feeling of being, true to your thought. If you have the true thought about that, then you will also understand that you are dependent on the Supreme for everything, and so you have to do it in the right manner to the best of your ability. Of course, if we can't do some things to the perfection, still that is because that is how we are able to do it, and we have tried our best. That is what is meant here. That is here when people talk about it, like there are so many commentators on the Gita, many people talk about it in different ways. And some people use this verse to criticize and say that you can do anything anyhow. Krishna has told it that you are not the killer, you can kill anyone, still you are not the killer. But that's not the meaning of this verse at all. So what is the meaning? What is the actual sense of that kill word here? So we can ask ourselves, does it include the common meaning of death? That means separation of the soul from the body. Or kill can stand for any action or activity of man. The verb kill here, what does it actually imply is the question that we have. So in that case, then this we have to see what it means. So Acharya Madhvaru, what he says is that in this, when the soul is the pratibimba of the infinite being God, and you know the relationship of the image object. Image can do only if the object does. So here what happens, the image being the jiva is so totally dependent on the infinite being for every action. So here the kill is one action. Like that way there are many actions. Here Arjuna is being told about killing action because that is what is the objection there, that he doesn't want to kill. But he's saying about any object, whatever you do, you're doing it because God is propelling you to do it. Through many other instruments, you are also being made to do certain things. And secondly, he's saying if you think this is the meaning of that word kill here, it refers to any action, because the context is about killing, they use that verb, but actually it means any verb, any action. And then if you say, okay, kill means to separate the body from the soul, then the soul, that is not what is the actual import here. Except that one more thing is the killer. Usually in the sense of the term, the killer is taken to be like the jiva itself, like the person who does not recognize the soul as being different from the body. He will think that if the body is killed, then the soul is killed. So that is not true, he says. So if a person thinks that the soul is killed, then he is thinking wrong. That is what he means here. So here two aspects that we learn here are, one is the total dependence of the soul on God. Second one is that the soul is immortal and it can never be killed at any time. So if a person thinks that the soul is mortal, then he is thinking wrong. That's what he means when he says about that killer being the person who thinks that he killed someone. That means he is thinking he can do some action on his own. Then he is not doing it on his own. Secondly, because inside there are so many actions going on by which you are doing one action, even blinking of the eye or even talking. There are many actions that are going, many work processes that are going on in your body over which you don't have control. So what is in your mind? How is it coming out in the speech form? This is a total mystery only. And what came into your mind and how did it come? What is in your memory? How did it come into your mind and how did it form into words? So these all aspects are there which are very mysterious, and they have been put in place to work like that through this infinite being who is the source of all these things. And so he is the person who is independent and we are not. The soul is not, he says. So if you think that you independently did it, any action, then you're thinking wrong. That is what is meant here. And if anyone thinks that the soul is mortal, then he is also thinking wrong. That is, these are the two aspects that are told here. And to tell that, there are many questions asked like this about what do you think about the verb kill? By using the verb kill, he wants to explain to Arjuna about any action. And he wants to also hint that the soul cannot be killed. So if anyone thinks about it like that the soul is mortal, then he is thinking wrongly. Then nextly, if the soul is not actionless, then what can you talk about this? How do you think about this? If we say that two people are ignorant is what is told. Ubau tau na vijanito is told. Ubau tau means these two people they are ignorant, he says. Vijani, they are na vijanito. They are not at all knowledgeable. They don't know anything, he says. So here, what is the two things that he is saying? Two people are ignorant, he said. Who are those two people? Those two people are the ones we just now told. One who believes that he is independent in action. Second, who thinks that the soul is mortal. These are the two people whom he is referring to here as being totally ignorant. So a person should be above this, he says. That's what his message is to Arjuna, that you have to be above this, that you are not independently taking the action. You have to do it and you do it. That's all. But what you have to think about the action, all those things will be told to us in a later stage. Like it is going step by step only. So we cannot just jump into the, the actual import of what is the meaning of independent being directing the all action in the world and how it is processed. All these things will be told by Krishna in a manner that we can understand through the chapters of the Gita in a slow manner. But the concept is put forward to us in this chapter, in this verse, actually in the previous verse. That is, the main concept is the dependence of the jiva on the infinite God. So this dependence has to be understood correctly. And only when we understand it correctly, we'll be able to make sense of any other thing that comes in the front. What's coming in the next few verses also. We have to understand this in a correct manner, like be convinced about it. Or if you're not yet convinced about it, then you have to study it more thoroughly. and try to get a grasp of its meaning. Then when we move forward with the verses, it will be more easier for you to relate to it and make use of it. So this is the main import of this verse which we have seen today, and we should, I think, conclude here. Hare Krishna.